Hey, welcome back to the channel, and thanks to everyone that's watched and shared my Brewdog Punk IPA brewing video. That seems to be doing really well, and I'd like to say hello to all the new subscribers that have come off the back of that video. If you're new and you like this content and you're interested in seeing more beers be brewed in the future, then make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Today I'm going to be brewing for you a chocolate covered pretzel porter. This is using another kit from Brooklyn Brew Shop, but this time it's just using an ingredient kit rather than the full brewing kit that comes with all of the equipment. This small little box just comes with the ingredients needed to brew this beer, and I'll link that down below again as well if you're interested in picking that up. So this is a similar concept to the original kit, however instead of getting all of the brewing kit as well, you only get the ingredients. So that's perfect to give as a gift to someone who might already have all the kits. And instead of just looking for some new recipes and some new ingredients to try brewing with. If you don't have this kit or you haven't bought it yet, but you're still thinking about brewing a beer of this style, the ingredients you'll need is you'll just need to get some grains that are a solid stout base. Aim for ones that are slightly on the chocolatey side if you can. So that gets the grain sorted. You'll also need some nugget hops, a pinch of sea salt as well, and also some cocoa nibs. But that's about it. That's as simple as the ingredients need to be for this. Obviously you can experiment in a number of different ways if you like, especially if you want to dry hop afterwards. But that's the base of this kit, and that's all you need to get started. So without further ado, let's just get on with it. Obviously step number one is to sanitize all of your kit. So I'll be brewing a 1 gallon batch of beer today using a 1 gallon demijohn. So all of the ingredients are based around brewing that size batch. Obviously you can scale it up as large as you like. You're going to need a 1 gallon demijohn. You're going to need some tubing or a racking cane. You'll also need a airlock for the top of your demijohn. You'll need 3 large pots. 2 of those are for the brewing process and 1 will be for holding some sanitizer. You'll also need a straining bag or something similar, and a cooking thermometer too. So if you sanitize all of that stuff to start off with, get it all sanitized and leave that to dry on one side, and then we can get started with the first part of the cooking process. So now all your stuff is sanitized, you need to take one of those large pots and you're going to need to fill it with 2.4 litres of water, or 2.5 quarts in American. You're going to need to heat that water to 71 degrees Celsius. Once that water's up to temperature, then you just need to add the grain in and just give it a quick stir. And then you're going to want to keep that temperature at around between 63 and 68 degrees Celsius for an hour. So get a timer set, leave it sat for an hour, keep stirring it every now and then, and just make sure that the temperature wise sits in between 63 and 68 degrees Celsius for that whole hour, and just keep coming back and checking on it every 10 minutes or so. But that's super easy. Step number one, just heating some water, adding all the grains into that water, and effectively just keeping it at that temperature for an hour. Once that hour is up, you're going to need to heat this up to around 77 degrees centigrade, adding around 10 degrees Celsius to this. So just turn the heat up a little bit whilst constantly giving the grains a good stir, and this process is known as the mashing out process. So you're trying to mash all that goodness out of those grains, ready for the next step. So keep mashing that together until the temperature reaches 77 degrees, and once done after a few minutes or so, it's time to move on to the next step. For this next step, you're going to need to grab your other pot, and you're going to need to put a straining bag or something similar over the top of this pot, and this is so that we can collect the liquid that we've just brewed without the grains. So in this instance, we're effectively filtering all that nice liquid out from the grains, and this process is known as the sparge. So once you've got your straining bag set over your pot, pour the grains over and all that liquid, and make sure all that liquid is collected in your new pot underneath. You want to do this a couple of times, and you want to make sure you collect around 4.75 litres of water, or that's 5 quarts in American. And we're purposely taking more water than would normally fit in our 1 gallon demijohn, and that's because in the next step, whilst we're boiling it, we'll lose a bit to evaporation. So Yeah, at this point it doesn't matter if you collect a little bit too much, it's not a big deal. So that liquid that's collected out the bottom of the grains, you want to run that through the grain again at least one more time. This is just to make sure we collect all of that good stuff. And yeah, as I've said, you need to collect around 4.75 litres. Once that's done and it's been passed through a couple of times, you're ready to run on to the next step. So now you've collected your wort, you can now discard the grains to one side. You can save them for later. You can use them as compost. You can also use them for bread and baking, or you can just throw them in the bin. But the grains are now done for the brewing process, and we are now just concentrating on that beautiful liquid that we've collected on the bottom. In this case, it will be a super dark, rich colour, which is great. It gives it that perfect porter looking colour. We want to take that liquid and we want to put it onto the heat until it starts boiling. Once it starts bubbling up towards the top, you need to drop that heat down, but leave it at a heat so that the liquid is boiling at a very, very light boil. And we're going to leave it there again for another 60 minutes. So once you've gone past that initial foaming point, so the liquid is fully boiled, drop the temperature down a little, leave it on a low boil, and at this point set your timer for 60 minutes, and you're going to want to add 3/4 of the hops. Then you're going to want to just leave it for 60 minutes, keep coming back to it again every now and then, giving it a stir, making sure everything's alright. And you're going to do that up until about 45 minutes into the boil. So you've got 45 minutes to sit back, relax, open a beer, and just keep your eye on it and stir it every now and then. So once 45 minutes have passed, you're going to want to then add the rest of the hops and the cocoa nibs too. And then again, same as before, leave it for the next 15 minutes at that light boil and make sure everything's all stirred in. Now at this point you'll notice that about 20% of the liquid has evaporated. Do not worry, that should leave us with just about enough for what we need for our demijohn. If more is evaporated, again don't panic, you can always add more cold water to it later. So now the boil is complete and all 60 minutes are up. We need to bring the temperature of this beer all the way down to 21 degrees Celsius, that's 70 degrees Fahrenheit. So in order to do that, I would recommend making an ice bath, maybe somewhere in a sink or something similar, and then just take the pot off the heat and dunk it in the ice bath. Stick a thermometer in and then just sit and patiently wait for that temperature to drop. To speed the process up, you could stir and continuously keep stirring the liquid around so that more of the liquid is touching the edges of the pot, which will obviously then cool it down quicker, because the edges of that pot are going to be sat in ice water and obviously be colder. Or you can, if you're super patient, you're in no rush, you can just sit there and leave it and it will eventually drop down. And yeah, you want to get it down to about 21 degrees Celsius. Once it's cooled down to 21 degrees Celsius, you're going to want to take your sanitized demijohn. You're going to want to also get a funnel and a strainer and sanitize both of those. So this is now the part where we need to take the liquid out of that pot and get it into the demijohn. And to do that, I recommend sticking a funnel in the top, maybe getting someone to help, and take the pot and you want to pour the liquid through the strainer and also through so that it goes into the funnel and into the demijohn. The strainer is just there to catch any loose bits that are left over and to also aerate the beer a little bit as it goes into the demijohn too. Once the liquid is all in the demijohn, you can then see how far up it comes. If it doesn't come up far enough, you can easily just top it up with some tap water, that is no problem, just to bring it up to that 1 gallon mark. And it's at this point that you want to pitch the yeast. So all that means is effectively take your yeast and chuck the whole lot in, and then you're going to want to shake the demijohn aggressively just to wake all that yeast up. And then I would recommend now making a little blow off tube, and to do this, take the cap for the top of the demijohn and the tubing, stick the tubing into the top. You don't want it more than a couple of centimeters into the top of the demijohn. And now we're going to use this to make a blow off tube by simply taking that tube in and sticking the other end into a small pot of sanitizer, and then the process is complete. So you want to leave that somewhere where it can be in the dark and at room temperature, with the blow off tube coming out the top of the demijohn and into the sanitized liquid pot. If, like me, you brewed this in an afternoon, you'll probably wake up the next day and find that the sanitized pot is bubbling away because the blow off tube is doing its job and letting all of that CO2 that the yeast is creating escape. which is great. And after a couple of days, it will die down and it'll settle to a slow tick. And at this point, you can then swap that blow-off tube out and you can replace it with the airlock. And then yeah, you just sit and patiently wait for 2 whole weeks like I'm doing now, ready for your beer to ferment. In this process, this is where you can now start dry hopping after a week or so if you like. In this instance, I'm going to leave this beer as it is because I'm excited to see how it would turn out. But you can experiment if you want to experiment dry hopping your porter at this point. So yeah, that's it. Once the airlock's on, you're effectively just leaving the beer somewhere at room temperature and preferably in the dark to just relax and chill and ferment whilst you have to sit patiently wait in the meantime, you need to find yourself some swing top bottles. I'll leave a link down below to some swing top bottles you can buy. I bought some clear ones, but retrospectively I feel like I should have probably bought some coloured ones. They're obviously better at keeping the beer tasting fresher for longer, as light will obviously get to the beer and to the hops and will not do it very good. But it's totally fine if you're going to be drinking this beer fairly fresh. But if you want it to keep for a little while, then darker bottles are better. So yeah, in the meantime, make sure you get yourself some bottles or drink beers that have swing top bottles on them already, so you get the best of both worlds. And yeah, you just sit and chill out for 2 weeks and wait for this bad boy to ferment. I'm super excited about how it's going to turn out. I will update with a video when I come to bottle this, and I'll also do a video taste testing the beer and see how it turned out, and give my thoughts on what could be done next time to improve it. So I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks very much for tuning in. If you like this content or you're interested in brewing other beers, I'll leave some videos linked at the end of this video. All of the kit that you need, I'll leave linked down below. If you use those links, they're affiliate links, and they'll just give me a small kickback for providing this content on this channel at no extra cost for you. So I really appreciate it if you use those links. And thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.